Hey, how y'all doing? I've been thinking about the book, um, The Myths That America Lives By, um, and the talks on white supremacy and the depth of the subject and what it looks like, and how it's popping up in such relevant ways as we try to battle COVID-19. Um, Looking at chapters 3 and 4, specifically starting with the idea of the myth of the nature's nation. Um, it's so much to unpack, right? And so much that can be said about this myth. Um, this myth that exploring the founders' ideas when they crafted the Declaration of Independence, and the idea that they were deists, more so than being Christian, and exploring deism and what that meant, and how they come to this place of what it means that these truths be self-evident, and that our nature obviously guides us to know what the real truth is. Read this excerpt from from the book. I've been reading it on Kindle, so I can't really quote the page, but it's a chapter in a book under elaborating the myth of nature's nation. Because the American founders grounded the American experiment in their vision of nature and nature's God, it was easy to imagine that the United States simply reflected the way God Himself intended things to be from the beginning of the world. In other words, the American system was not spun out of someone's imagination or contrived by human wit. Instead, it was based on a natural order built into the world by God Himself. Reading that, and again, after I even read the first book, I just feel like this author put so much into words that which I have felt and experienced. It is for most white people, especially those of us, which is not limited only to white people, but those of us that live here in the United States, it's only natural that we must be the city on the hill. We must be God's great chosen nation, come to bring light and correction to all the world. We must be this champion of what civilization was meant to be like. We are the second coming of Eden here in the United States. And I think it is that type of thinking, that type of audacity, really, that type of boldness and ideology that then gives us this place, or especially gives white people this place to think that then they must be the supreme being. They must be what God really intended for all the world. And what that has meant for black people, for native people, for non-Christian or non folks that are outside of what people consider to be mainline in this country, has been, hazardous. And so I think in our trying to unpack these ideologies that uphold white supremacy, getting at this idea of what we think the natural order of things should be and why we think these things are the natural order, really play a pivotal role in helping us to overturn, I think, white supremacy and those the things that help to keep it in place and intact. And so I encourage you, just as we even listen to the way our president talks, if you can't hear some of this nature's nation in his speak, and what is the natural order of things and how things just should be in America, this all this meritocracy, and it's really brazen way of being has all right to be that way because it is chosen by God to carry out something. Um, really, uh, it seems greed, right? So I'd love to hear what you've been thinking as you've been reading this book. Um, some thoughts on this whole nature's nation, the idea that this is just the way it's meant to be, that America, somehow the United States completes God's natural order.